I was a former consulting manager. I used to work the 60-hour weeks consistently, making sure that I get myself up that partnership ladder. Eventually, I burnt out really hard, and my body actually told me, hey, you got to stop this. And that was in the form of cancer.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Scale Smart, Grow Fast podcast. Now, we all know that working more isn't always the answer. In this episode, Andy Reinhold, founder of Studio Spark and former Deloitte exec turned automation strategist, shares his no-hustle blueprint for solopreneurs and small business leaders who want to scale like the big players without the stress, sleepless nights, or bloated teams. After managing $55 million plus in high-stakes projects and overcoming burnout and cancer, Andy now helps business owners reclaim their time through AI, automation, and real-world systems that actually work. Andy, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today?
Good. Thank you so much for having me, Harley. It's great to be here.
Andy, can you maybe share a little bit more about your background? What brought you to what you're doing today?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like you said in the very kind intro, I was a former consulting manager. I used to work the 60-hour weeks consistently, making sure that I get myself up that partnership ladder. Eventually, I burnt out really hard, and my body actually told me, hey, you got to stop this. And that was in the form of cancer. And once I recovered from that, I really took a hard look at myself and reevaluated what was important to me in my life. And so I took a lot of different little paths to kind of figure this out and made a lot of stumbles. I failed my first business. I was trying to launch a marketing company in the video game industry because video games was a childhood passion of mine. I was doing that while trying to raise kids. My first son was born during the pandemic, and that's when I launched my first business, and that just flopped right away. Once I beat my cancer, I did finally get a quote unquote dream job in the video game industry, only to find out it wasn't really a dream job. And then I went on another journey of self-discovery. Hey, I thought I did what I wanted to do. I thought I accomplished this passion of mine. What happened? And it came down to, hey, I didn't really know myself when I made these decisions. So now with Studio Spark, what I'm doing is with this obsession with helping business owners and other people do more with less time for their businesses, I'm also helping people understand end to end, what is the kind of business that they want to create? How can they achieve that while also making that fit into the lifestyle that they want to live? The great thing is AI and automation is a huge enabler for that. Just like when the internet allowed for virtual assistants to really help us with the arbitrage of leveraging workers that can help us with cheaper costs, AI and automation is doing the exact same thing and also enabling that part of the virtual assistant space as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a big focus of ours, is making sure all of our virtual assistants are fully leveraging AI to support our clients. It's one of those things, like the old things that virtual assistants used to do, AI is handling now. So they got to level up and take on bigger challenges. So I love that. Now, one question I had for you, kind of stepping back to your background and your journey, one thing that stood out to me was that kind of change of mindset and knowing yourself. Is there any tips or things you'd like to share about what that process looked like for you? Like, did you get help with this? Was there a program, or what kind of mindset shifts took place there?
Yeah. So for me, it was in the form of actually getting therapy. I found a psychologist / psychiatrist, and I like that combination of help because I was working with someone that was very much in tune with the latest psychiatric practice and psychology. And so I worked with them, and I've been working with them for like 3 or 4 years. The biggest thing that we did discover was I was working in a way that was just prescribed to me. And this is a challenge that many millennials like me, and I'm also second generation Asian American as well. People in my kind of situation, we really worked and lived our lives that were told to us by either our parents, by society. And for me, I never questioned it until I hit this massive hard burnout. I really did not question it at all. What kind of life was I living? What kind of emotions were I living? And then I realized, hey, I wasn't living any sort of life that I wanted to live myself. And then I just tried making every single mistake of, hey, I think I wanted to live this way. I want to live that way. But I was still turning out with burning out all the time. And that process led me to understand, in order to live the way I want to live, I need a much more better compass. And one of the books that helped me really figure that out was a book called Designing Your Life by
Perfect.
Bill Burnett and Dave Evans. And I lately on my TikTok content, I've been talking about this a lot. And it's a book about how to build a well-lived, joyful life. It's written by two Stanford professors, and they've done a lot of studies, and they actually run this program over at Stanford, or at least that's at the time of writing the book they did. And so I just used the exercises in the book and then combined that with my therapy sessions. And really the core thing from this was living a life and building a compass based on my values. And for me, my biggest values at the moment are freedom, authenticity, and self-care. Right. And so when I make my micro decisions and my macro decisions, I really try to make sure that as long as I make a decision based on those three values, I'm choosing well, even if it may not be the right choice. And as long as I choose well, I'll be okay with those decisions. So that's how I've been trying to avoid burning out. Of course, easier said than done, right? I mean, I would say as I'm building Studio Spark, I burnt out again just very recently with Studio Spark because I was so focused on the freedom aspect of it that I ignored the self-care aspect. And when these things aren't in balance, that's when I find myself in trouble and I find myself burning out. So that was kind of the long journey. So to summarize, it started with therapy. I combined it with a framework from Designing Your Life that is been proven by two Stanford professors. And then now I do my best to live my life based on that framework.
Yeah, I really appreciate you sharing that. Something that kind of stood out to me that I've heard from other sources too that kind of support this is, when you have clear values in your life, decision making actually becomes easier because you can have all your decisions in a framework of those values. And so it helps with decision fatigue. It helps you with just being confident in what you do and knowing that, like you said, maybe it's not like the optimal decision, but it's the right one for you. So I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, absolutely. And just one more example to illustrate that. Right now, I'm experimenting with AI avatars to help me and automating that process to help me automate my social media content, right? But if I can't get that AI avatar in my automation flow to show my authentic self, right, one of my core values, I'm going to drop the entire thing and actually forego automation and AI because it doesn't feel real to me. So I'm going through that experiment right now and I'm like recording every single minute of my decision making process there. But after this week, I'm going to make a decision. Like, is this technology good enough to make me feel like I'm authentically reaching out to my prospects and my clients? If not, forget it. Even if it's such a great benefit and it's going to save me time and money, I'm not going to do it because it's not authentically me.
That's powerful. I want to jump back a little bit. You mentioned, talking about feeling like you were kind of burning out when you were starting out because you had different focuses. And I'm sure many business owners that are listening feel similarly. Like they might feel like they have this choice of like either you focus on business growth or you focus on peace of mind or like the self-care, like you mentioned. What does a no hustle path to scaling actually look like and why does it work?
Yeah. So I like to preface this by calling out a quote from Jeff Bezos. He calls out that his mindset is there's no such thing as work-life balance, but there's work-life fit. And, you can extrapolate that in many different ways. But the way I heard that and the way I think about it is that, especially with my journey with my health, we only have generally around 4,000 weeks of our lives, right? So what do we want to do within those 4,000 weeks? And with the way the internet and technology has enabled us to do more and democratize a lot of things that weren't accessible to us back, especially back from like the 90s and 2000s, right? Like, how can we make choices to do the things that we want to do, but also bring a level of wealth that we want while accessing a level of self-care that we want to do. So this is something that I'm really pushing forward with the mission of Studio Spark, which is building a business that is authentically you, that you'd be proud of when you're laying on your deathbed. Right. And that's the major driver for me. So I keep bringing these like death analogies and metaphors, but I know it sounds a little bit morbid, but for me, that perspective just brings so much clarity for me. And I know it sounds morbid, but it's like, okay, is this something I'm going to be happy with when I'm there at the end? Can I make a business that's going to allow me to take care of myself and the people that I care about, right? So for me, my biggest thing, I have two young boys and I just want to be there every moment I can, right? Because when I'm gone, the only thing that's left of me is their memories of me.
Right.
And authenticity, self-care, and freedom, right? So in freedom, of course, for me, in my example, how can I build a business that does withstand the market shifts of recessions and government bureaucracy, policy decisions, right? And the different things that are happening in the environment. And how can I also bring in the revenue and wealth building assets that can actually allow me to live the life I want according to my other two assets. So that's kind of the methodology of what I build into my systems. Now, to make it a little bit more tangible and practical, what I do with my clients is I definitely look my clients end-to-end business, and we look at all their pipelines, and we do start. There's three parts to evaluating company. So we do a prioritization phase where we do look at a little bit more of the woo-woo stuff, right? We look at how they prioritize stuff. So the values, right, which we just been heavily focused on. And I think, again, if you don't have your values set up and aligned, then what's the point of running this business? I always say there's much easier ways of making money. And like, if you're not going to align yourself to your values, you might as well go do something else, right? Like, this is a little
job working
crass.
For someone else, it'd be a lot less
Exactly. This is a little crass, but when I was working at Big Four Consulting, honestly, the way I see it, and people will argue against me, and feel free to, but like, becoming a partner at a Big Four consulting firm is one of the least riskiest ways to becoming a millionaire. Right? Like, you're not putting much on the line. You are putting a lot of your health and time, right? But like, once you get up there, like, you have systems to make sure you don't fail. And so you have to really do something really, really bad to be kicked out of that and lose your paycheck. So yeah, if you're going to go through entrepreneurship, there's reasons for it. And you want those reasons to align with your values. So during this prioritization phase, we focus on values. We do what we call a good times mapping, what energizes you and what doesn't. Based on that, that helps with the micro decisions of like, what can I delegate out, like for a VA or through AI and automation, or even a combination of both. We also do, from the book Designing Your Life, a 5-year Odyssey plan of, hey, where do you want your business to look like in 5 years? Do you want a business that's a super fast value growing startup, or do you want a more lifestyle business where you're generating high amounts of revenue per employee, but you're not looking for that hyper growth that's going to exit, right? And that needs venture capital. And so we look at those micro and macro decisions, and those build out the compass on how you're going to make decisions. Then there's a strategy portion where we talk about the actual business strategy. Who are you targeting? Do you actually know who you're talking to, who you're selling to? Who are your prospects? And we use a lot of AI to help us do market research there. And we say, okay, where are they? What channels are they actually on? Who are they following right now? How do you become a key person of influence so you can get in front of them when they're paying attention to all these other people? This one is one of my favorites: capacity, revenue math, and offer refinement. So we take a look at your offer and what are you offering? Are you offering one core thing, or are you offering a million things just to collect as much money as possible? Is that what's burning you out, right? And how much capacity do you actually have to deliver those offers really, really well? Can we actually reduce your offers and reduce the amount of time that you're spending on selling these offers and actually delivering these offers so you can provide a higher quality product or service and actually charge more from it? That's actually step 6 out of this 12-step framework, where it's like, man, that's where we can finally align your values, where you want to go, who you're talking to, and say, how can I work less, charge more, and then deliver a better quality product? And at that point, strategization is pretty much over, and it's all about execution now. So it's all about how do you run marketing campaigns with your better offer that's going to work with you, that's more aligned to you, that's going to help you take care of yourself. How do you go ahead and generate leads with automation? How do you create content with automation? How do you automate your CRM to make sure that you are never dropping leads? And then, of course, we do some strategy on whatever your business is, how are you actually delivering effectively? Yes, that's kind of the step-by-step framework of what I work with my clients.
Every day, your top performers are buried under emails, scheduling, and reporting. Work that doesn't move the needle. The result? Frustration, burnout, and worst of all, lost revenue. That's why we created the Executive's Guide to Scaling High Performers, a simple, battle-tested framework to eliminate busy work and unlock your team's full potential. Inside, you'll get the exact steps top executives use to retain A players, boost productivity, and free up their team for high-impact work. Stop losing revenue. Go to workergenix.com/growth hub or check the episode notes to download the Executive's Guide to Scaling High Performers Now. So for someone who's already running kind of a lean team, they maybe don't have a huge staff, they don't have like a marketing department, things like that. Where is the smartest place to start delegating or automating through AI or AI with the virtual assistants?
Yes. All right. So for me, one of my favorite areas to talk about is content creation because I'm so heavily focused on personal branding and creating key persons of making sure that the business has a key person of influence because that's a great asset to have for many businesses. And what's really great about AI is there are many parts of the content creation process that AI can speed up or automation can speed up, right? So if you as a business owner and that emerging or is currently that key person of influence, right? If you are really good at scripting and that's your superpower, right? You can operationalize your scripting process using AI and automation, right? Feed AI your previous content and then operationalize it by automating your framework of how you create content, right? Now, might not be 100% there, right? And that's why you, as the human, are still the expert. But what you can do is absolutely operationalize it, handles operational tools to a VA who will now go ahead and draft up stuff for you in your vision, in the framework that you've created. And it will get you probably 80, 90% of the way there. And at that point, you, as the key person of influence, as the actual subject matter expert, just needs to do the last remaining 10% to do the updating and final approval. That's great for scripting and ideation. Say you're more better on the publishing side of things. Maybe you're more of a visual flair kind of person. Well, there's tons of AI and automation tools that help you create the visual assets, right? So then all you need to do is come in and actually do the final tweaking and approving. Or on the other side of that equation too, maybe you're the one doing the brainstorming, the drafting, the copywriting, the actual designing of the visual elements and the positioning of things. Well, you can hand that over to a VA that has your operational tools. They can automate it. And then there you go, much more quickly from your thoughts to paper or the equivalent of digital paper, you can have someone create those final assets for you in pretty much ready to go form. So that's content creation is one of my favorites. And I'll describe one more. Content creation is inbound leads, right? Let's talk about outbound. Now, if you have an outbound lead system, one of my favorite ways of using AI and automation right now, a lot of work that virtual assistants do is doing manual data scraping, a lot of research, and virtual assistants are really great at doing that. And especially if you have one at different time zones with you, right? It's like you go to bed, you wake up, you had this amazing set of research done for you on a prospect. Well, AI and automation can help with that, where you can literally scrape data off of websites. And now if you provide those tools to a virtual assistant, now they can massively increase the amount of data and the pool of data that they can reach out to. And then the VA can now go ahead and do the analysis that they're already doing in a much more batch form, much more quicker way. And so it just supercharges things. One practical example of this is LinkedIn is starting to crack down on this. So it's tricky when you have to really be on top of these things. But my favorite thing is taking LinkedIn Sales Navigator, right, which a lot of people use. It's $100 a month, but it's really query based. You search for a particular type of prospect, you get a list of prospects. Well, then at that point, you're looking at prospects one by one and analyzing. Well, I like to combine that with a data scraper tool. At the moment, you can use something like Phantom Buster, which is a really great data scraping tool. And they have really easy pre-built scrapers where it combines the LinkedIn data and attaches it to enrichment tools to grab emails and also LinkedIn profile tools, LinkedIn profile data. So then basically you can get, instead of just doing a one by one search, which a VA would do, you would provide the VA a 2,500 list of all of these prospects. And then the VA can now go and do the next step to analyze and research these people and then go through the further enrichment stage of that data for your lead generation.
Wow, that is powerful. I just love that opportunity to just like scale the system using the technology from, whether it's AI, screen scraper, and the VA combining all those. That's like the secret weapon right there.
It is. It really is. Yeah. I think what's key is if you think from the perspective of, I like to look at AI and automation as what can I supercharge rather than what can I remove? And that's what helps these smaller teams really get ahead. And when I say a small team can really operationalize themselves like a Fortune 500 company, that's the power of these AI and automation tools. If you look at it from the perspective of what can I supercharge my current team with rather than what can I remove? Because that's actually a lot of questions I get. It's like, hey, I want to get rid of my marketing director. I want to get rid of my CFO. Like, why? They know your business. They are a part of your IP. They are an asset to you. You don't want to get rid of them. You want to supercharge them so you can do more. Maybe what you want to do is get rid of the manual steps out of your calendar, but what you want to do is supercharge them. And if you think about it from that perspective, you can really scale a lot more quickly.
I love that. That's something that we help people with all the time is they come in and, rather than get rid of your local staff that's already, your IP, like you said, supercharge them, whether that's getting them the right tools, getting the right systems, or getting them an EA themselves so that they're not down in the low level work all the time. They're adding way more value for you. And that's, looking at it from an investments perspective and getting a great, much higher ROI from them than you may be getting now.
Absolutely. I would like to illustrate this with an extreme example. And this is coming from big enterprise. I used to manage a 200-person team. I'll try not to be too technical here, but basically, those old mainframe computers that took up lots of like the entire room? Well, some states and some companies still use those things. So I used to run teams that would help companies move off of those into a more modern system. Well, back when I was working at a big four company, one of the biggest projects we had was analyzing a big chunk of code and modernizing it. A part of that is just analyzing and human reading the code to understand it and understand the logic. And I will tell you, for just a small part of the system, we charge $2 million to do that analysis over 6 months. Now, an activity like that, AI can do probably with the amount of code that we did. My gut says probably we could have done in about 2 weeks, probably for about like $100,000. Maybe. That's what my gut feel would be. This is a project I did like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But that's a significant amount of ROI difference, right? Like $2 million over several months versus weeks for, oh my gosh, like tiny fraction of that cost. And so that's the thing. And it's tying up, and to your point, Harley, right? We tied up our most senior engineers because we did not want to mess up this first step. We need to make sure that our analysis was 100% perfect. And so we didn't put junior people on this. That's why the cost skyrocket. We put our senior most people on it when they could have been problem solving and architecting something else, right? So this is where not only did our cost skyrocket, but the opportunity costs that we incurred by not putting our senior people on bigger things and put them on this more remedial task of manual review, we lost a lot there. And we didn't as the company. We charged the company, we came in as subcontractors.
Yeah.
But yeah, that company, they lost a lot there to get this done right.
Absolutely. That's a great example. Andy, I really appreciate all the specific details and strategies that you've shared so far. As we're wrapping up here, I want to talk about mindset again. What is like one habit or mindset shift that overwhelmed business leaders could adopt today if they want to start scaling without losing their health or happiness?
That's a good one. I think it does sound morbid, but it does come back to, at the end of the journey, will I be happy? Will I feel like I've lived a life well lived? And if the macro and micro decisions I'm making today don't lead to a yes, then I would take a very hard look at what is stopping you from saying yes, right? We only have so much limited time in our lives. The things that are really stressful to us and feel like the end of the world to us today may actually not be, right? I have all these client horror stories where I'm in big trouble with the client or trying to solve a client problem and it feels like the end of the world. And today all I can do is laugh at them, and they really weren't. And, I think about the sacrifices I made working on those things, and I say, you know what? I mean, sure, granted, I'll be a little bit more rational. I'll say, yeah, it was a good learning experience, right? But if I had the choice, I wouldn't have stressed so much about that kind of thing. And I would have probably have taken more time with the kids, or I had a dog during that time that we were doing chemo treatments with as well. And yeah, I would have spent more time with the dog. before we said goodbye. So yeah, we only have so much limited time. And if we're going to stress about something, it should be things that we really care about. And that's why, as an example with Studio Spark right now, I really want to solve this problem of preventing burnout, preventing overwhelm, leveraging the technology that we have today to make businesses that people really enjoy, that fit their lives. And it's because, like we just joked about, Harley, right? Like there are just so many not easier, but so many less riskier ways to earn the same amount of money, right?
Yeah.
Or make more. And if we're not aligning ourselves to what we really care about, then at the end of the journey, it'll be really tough to justify our actions. If there's one mindset shift, I guess it's like listen to a lot of stories from people that are more elderly about about how they've listened to their stories, listen to people about, at the coming to the ends of their lives, and see if that changes in your perspective. I know it gets a little woo-woo, but that's all we have, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. Andy, thank you so much for sharing with us today. If people want to continue the conversation with you, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
Yeah, the best way, just come to studiospark.io and you can find me with whatever's convenient for you. All my social links are there: TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. You can sign up for my newsletter if that's how you prefer. I also have a school community if you like to get to me as quickly as possible. But yeah, studiospark.io, and you can pick whichever is convenient for you to get to me. I make myself available.
So for the audience listening today, if you got value from this episode, do one quick thing. Hit like and subscribe so you don't miss future strategies to help you scale smarter. And maybe you know a business owner or a colleague who could use this information. Share the episode with them. It could be exactly what they need right now. And if you're listening on a podcast platform, leave us a quick rating. It helps us reach more leaders just like you. And again, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one.